this media briefing. Since new guidelines issued by Government of India has been notified, we thought we will have this media interaction so that we can talk about the new guidelines and everybody is made aware of the changes that are taking place and the new steps that we are taking and the relaxations that have been made in the existing guidelines as far as handling this COVID-19 situation is concerned. So what I will do is, because it's important that everybody understands the guidelines and their implication, so I would briefly explain the guidelines to you all, and thereafter maybe we can have clarification on any issues that you might want to raise. So you all know that on 15th of April 2020, MHA issued revised consolidated guidelines, and accordingly we have also further notified these guidelines insofar as these guidelines relate to our state, because there are so many things which really do not pertain to Sikkim. So we have excluded those things and we have come out with our own set of revised guidelines which are essentially based on the guidelines issued by Government of India. So first of all, it's important to understand that we are still in a lockdown situation. Period of lockdown has been increased to 3rd of May 2020. It's just that few relaxations have been made because maybe these relaxations were necessary taking into account the current situation. But by and large, we have to understand that the lockdown period is still not over and we can't really relent. We have seen this situation in Sikkim also. We are very lucky with the cooperation of everybody. We have been able to handle the situation much better than many other states so far. But I was a little disappointed to see that on 13th and 14th of April, people hoping that lockdown period is going to be lifted from 15th. So 13th, 14th itself, we could see large-scale violation of these guidelines, people coming out in open and a lot of vehicles moving on the roads. General public has to understand that one small miss here or there could result in difficult situation for us. Our people have been very, very disciplined, very well informed, very cautious and very compliant as far as these guidelines are concerned. And it is my sincere request to all the Sikkimese people to bear with this situation for some more time and ensure that we observe these guidelines in the same manner as we have done in past. So, what is prohibited and not allowed is public transport. So buses and taxis won't fly. Inter-district and interstate movement of people. So within Sikkim also, movement is not allowed, is prohibited. Only in case of medical emergency, with due permission from district collectors, this kind of movement can be undertaken. Otherwise, in general, it's a no. Educational institutions will remain closed. All industrial and commercial activities were closed and will remain closed in 19th, and from 20th onward will also remain closed unless specifically allowed. I will come to the activities which are allowed to be undertaken after 20th, but by and large everything is closed. Hospitality services closed. All public places, you all know, cinema halls, malls, shopping complexes, gymnasium, all places where people collect, those are closed. All kinds of functions and gatherings, whether social or political or sports related or entertainment related, academic, cultural and religious also. These activities are prohibited, including congregations at religious places or places of worship. In funerals, not more than 20 persons are allowed. So this is the generality. Up to 3rd of May, all these activities are prohibited. Now to mitigate the hardships of general public, from 20th April onwards, certain activities will be opened up, and I'll just quickly run through the list. Why I am dwelling at length on these guidelines, the reason is that through media, everybody should understand the rationale behind these guidelines and also understand very, very clearly what is permitted, what is allowed and what is not allowed. All health services will remain open, which includes hospitals, nursing homes, chemist shops, medical shops, laboratories, and veterinary hospitals also, and production of pharmaceuticals, medical devices, and movement of all medical and veterinary personnel, scientists, nurses, paramedical staff, lab technicians, whether it's interstate or intrastate. So health services are, in a nutshell, fully open and fully operational. Agricultural and related activities have been now allowed, so farmers can freely go and work on their farms. Fisheries related activities are also allowed. Tea plantation, specifically in our situation, TMT will operate with maximum of 50% of the workforce. That is allowed. Similarly, as far as animal husbandry related activities are concerned, collection, processing, distribution of milk products and their transportation is allowed. Activities of poultry farms are also allowed. Animal feed, manufacture, distribution is allowed. Goshalas will be allowed to operate. As far as financial sector is concerned, banks and ATMs and the related activities will be allowed. Insurance company offices will function normally. Then in social sector, children home, homes for disabled, mentally challenged, homes for senior citizens, destitute homes, homes for widows, juvenile homes, etc. will be allowed. Then activities relating to distribution of pension to aged people, widows, freedom fighters, etc. will also be allowed. As far as Anganwadis are concerned, distribution of food items and nutrition once in 15 days will be allowed. Now, in a significant relief to the rural sector, AMG Narega works will be allowed to commence from 20th onwards. Of course, norms of social distancing will have to be observed in all these activities. Then public utilities and essential services like transportation, distribution, storage and retailing of petrol and petroleum products, CNG, LPG, PNG, etc. is allowed. Power generation and distribution, operation of post offices, utilities, municipal utilities like water, sanitation, waste management allowed, telecommunication and internet. These facilities are also allowed. And travel relating to these activities. So movement of, for example, telecom personnel is also allowed by extension of the definition. Now, goods traffic will be allowed to ply with one driver and one helper. So only two persons will be allowed. Empty trucks will not be stopped because they might be returning after delivering the goods or to pick up the goods. And of course, specific guidelines as far as interstate movement of trucks is concerned, Transport Department and district collectors will issue additional guidelines. But in general, movement of goods is allowed. But then we'll have to see in our situation and circumstances what are the additional precautions that we need to take. Of course, movement of essential goods anyway is allowed, but for other commodities also is being opened up. We'll see what restrictions we need to put in place to make sure that we stay safe. As far as essential goods and commodities are concerned, the wholesalers and retailers activities will be allowed. I need not dwell on that. On essential commodities there is no doubt. Now, commercial and other private enterprises and establishments, media will continue to be free. IT and IT enabled services, but only with 50% staff strength. Government approved common service centers will be allowed. E-commerce activities will be allowed. So home delivery of goods purchased through e-commerce will be allowed. Courier services will continue. Cold storage, warehousing, activities of private security services will be continued. Some of the hotels will be designated by district collectors in their respective districts for people who are stranded. So one or two maybe in each district headquarters, collectors have already done that. So those hotels will operate, but otherwise in general hotels will remain closed. So, and then of course self-employed persons like electricians, IT repair personnel, plumbers, motor mechanics, carpenters, etc. they will allow. Industrial establishment in rural areas, all industries can operate. Essential goods they manufacture, including drugs and pharmaceuticals, it was allowed earlier also, will continue to be allowed. Of course, they will have to follow standard operating procedure. What is the standard operating procedure? We have enclosed an lecture with this notification, and this has been circulated to everybody, and everybody is expected to observe those norms as far as operations of factories and commercial establishment and industrial establishments are concerned. As far as construction activity is concerned, in rural areas, all kinds of construction, whether public or private, will be allowed. So there is no restriction on construction activities. This will soak in large number of stranded laborers who are working on construction sites. And even in other areas, continuation of existing works, but only with the existing locked-in labor. If at the construction site or in the vicinity, the labor is available, activity can be started. But movement of labor from one place to another place will not be allowed. Idea is those who are stranded, who are laborers, who are very close to the work site, if work can be commenced by following certain norms of social distancing and safety precautions, then those construction activities should also be allowed to operate. As far as movement of persons and vehicles is concerned, there are certain instructions which have been issued by the Home Department and concerned district collectors also. They will remain in operation. As far as functioning of government offices is concerned, we have already issued a notification. Basically what it says is that from 20th government offices will become functional. And all officers of the rank of Joint Secretary and above will attend offices normally, and other staff, for other staff, the head of the department or head of the office will decide how many are really required. Maximum should be 1/3 of the strength. Idea is that services should be carried on, but at the same time crowding or too many people collecting in one place should be controlled. And of course, police, home guard, civil defense, fire, emergency services, etc., they will keep operating as it is. So this is as far as government offices are concerned. Now let's talk a little bit about national directives. And this is very important, and I request you all media personnel to give it widest possible publicity. These directives will be enforced by district magistrates under Disaster Management Act. These are national directives, and these directives have been issued in the interest of public health and safety, and in that sense they are sacrosanct. So if somebody is not observing these directives, then punitive action can be taken as per the provisions of Disaster Management Act. Now, it may not be very pleasant idea to talk about what penal provisions are, but suffice to say that anybody defying these instructions or guidelines renders himself liable to penal action. Never should there be an occasion to proceed against anyone under these provisions, but that can happen only when people exactly know what these directives are. Otherwise, normally what happens is the standard stop reply from people is that, oh, we didn't know that we were violating the law. That's why I request that we should talk about it also, and we should give due publicity to these things. Now, what are these directives? So, in public places, wearing of face cover is compulsory. Now, if you go on the streets of Gangtok or any other town in Sikkim, you will find that about 50 to 60% of the people are wearing face covers. Now, it doesn't have to be a mask. It doesn't have to be a medical mask. It could be any cover. Even Prime Minister has said that you just have to cover the face, and you must have seen Prime Minister in that video conference where he actually was covering his face by gamcha. So Honorable Prime Minister wanted to convey this message to everybody. What is important is that when I speak, then the droplets do not fall in such a manner that others are likely to be impacted by that. So wearing of face masks is compulsory. Everybody should wear that. It can be any cover, it could be any cloth. We have in fact asked our self-help groups operating under Rural Development Department to start producing cloth masks to cover the faces. It won't cost much, and it's very convenient to produce those things also. Social distancing, everybody knows about social distancing, and that has to be maintained in all public places, whether people go for shopping and stand in the queue, that time also they have to maintain the distance, or any other public place. Social distancing is very, very important. Then gatherings such as marriages or funerals, there also you have to maintain that. Spitting in public spaces, this is very, very important. You must have seen those disturbing videos which keep circulating on social media. Now, covering the face mask and ensuring that people are not allowed to spit in public spaces, that's very, very important from public hygiene point of view, and also from the point of view of containing the spread of this virus. And of course, gutka, tobacco, etc. should not be allowed in workplaces. टेम्परेचर स्क्रीनिंग के लिए अरेंजमेंट करना है, सैनिटाइजर्स होने चाहिए. Of course, this may not be necessary in Sikkim situation, but in places where in one particular place large number of employees come, then maybe staggered office timings should be in place. And persons above 65 years of age and less than 5 years of age, they are especially vulnerable. So they should be advised not to venture out much. And again, there is another important thing, I must talk about that. Arogya Setu, this app. Now onwards, I think this is going to be a very, very important tool in our state also, in our situation also, as far as management of spread of this virus is concerned. I'll explain it separately, but I think we should encourage everybody to download this app. When I talk about other measures that we are going to take now onwards, I'll specifically talk about it and say why it's important. But open the floor for discussion. There are new challenges that we are facing in our state. And so far, our approach has been that we have taken proactive action, anticipating the evolving scenario, and then taking certain decisions which have so far ensured that we are safe. Now, the first challenge would be, so far it's a completely lockdown situation, and as I said, this situation will continue up to 3rd. But then from 20th onwards, offices will open, industrial units, pharma units were working, but then other units will also start working. So there will be return of people to workplace and work sites. As I said, construction work will start. So that poses a challenge for us. And we have just now we had a meeting with we have a task force, state level task force, and all concerned secretaries are there in the task force. And then district collectors and SPs join us through video conference. And this is behind the scene activity that keeps happening. We meet very, very frequently in the task force, and we keep reviewing the situation, and then we keep taking decisions which are put up to the government, and based on government approval, those action points are implemented. Similarly, apart from essential goods, now even the movement of essential goods, cross-border movement of essential goods, means that people go out and we really do not have a way of ensuring how to make sure that the drivers, the truckers, they don't get in touch with people who might be carrying infection when they are in Siliguri or other places. Now there will be increased movement of goods and goods carriers across the border. So that is a second challenge, and of course after 3rd of May, hopefully it will be possible for us to allow Sikkimese students, patients and other people who are stranded. Now what should be the protocol to follow as far as facilitating their return to Sikkim is concerned, in such a manner that they have already suffered a lot, and we would want to do things in a manner which facilitates their coming back, but at the same time in a very, very safe manner. So what is, of course, there will be a standard operating procedure and a protocol that will need to be followed. and the technical team is already working on that. In a day or two, maybe we'll finalize that protocol and put it out in public domain so that everybody knows what to expect, what to do, and what not to do. But one thing which perhaps everybody will have to do is those who are outside the state. Today is 17th, 18th. They should download this app. It helps. When they come here after 3rd, they would have used this app for almost 15 days. So, contact tracing, in case required, will be facilitated. I think this is going to be one of the prerequisites for people who would be returning. Please give it adequate publicity. I'll also run through the numbers, how many people are outside the state, known numbers. But then we will have to reach out to everybody and communicate this thing that this app is really useful, helpful, and they should immediately download it if they have not done it already. So these are the challenges. Now, let me just give you an update on the current state of our preparedness and our response also. Most of the things are already known to you, so I will just be updating you on those things. We know that so far there is no confirmed case of corona in the state. All the samples that we sent out have turned out to be negative. It's a matter of satisfaction. So we can say that there is no local infection. So the real threat would only come from outside. That's why we have to make sure that we are cautious, we are vigilant, and we rigorously follow the protocol that is required for entry and exit from the state. Task force has been in operation. You all know that we have been proactive as far as taking decisions are concerned, whether it's suspension of inner line permits or not allowing the foreign tourists to come and then to follow it up with the ban on arrival of domestic tourists. We have carried out awareness programs, helplines have been set up, publicity has been given, prohibited orders have been issued, do's and don'ts have been circulated. Intra-state travel movement restrictions were imposed. State government has announced relief package also to mitigate the problems of the public. I'll give you the numbers just now. We have created a dedicated portal for information and services relating to COVID-19. I'm sure you all are aware of that website. It's www.covid19sikkim.org. So a lot of information is available here, including number of online services like vehicle passes and was it yesterday or day before yesterday when Honorable Governor also inaugurated the facility of self-declaration. Online it can be done, so that when people return to Sikkim, they don't really have to do that paperwork, filing, filling up the form, etc. It can be done online. I'm happy to say that government have taken a decision to provide an extra honorarium of rupees 5,000 per ASHA worker, and this has already been disbursed. Just now, Chief Minister's office informed me that I think the number is about 700 odd ASHA workers. So they have got this extra because we know that they are performing a very difficult job in a very, very difficult situation. They are our frontline warriors, and we must recognize their effort and also provide them assistance which is due to them. So this has been done. Then on 14th of April, for the stranded people outside the state, we have appointed special officers on duty at New Delhi, Kolkata, Guwahati and Siliguri. We have even circulated their mobile numbers and people are getting in touch with them. Main problem of the people is that they are stranded, they are restless, they want to come back, and some of them also have financial issues. So on 16th of April, state government has taken a decision which is known to everybody that a financial relief of rupees 30,000 to patients who are stranded outside the state will be provided. So this activity will be coordinated by Chief Minister's office because the money will come from Chief Minister's Relief Fund. And there is a prescribed procedure, very simple procedure. Basically, one has to just give details and this kind of assistance will be available. Similarly, you might be knowing that the state government has been providing assistance to students who are studying outside the state and suddenly they find that education institutions have closed down and they are in a lockdown situation. So government decided they will be given 5,000 rupees per student. So we got their telephone numbers and details and then their bank details also. And you will be happy to know that 5,000 rupees per student has been given to 1,452 students. It's a large number of students and everybody has been given a credit of rupees 5,000 in their accounts. So state government is doing everything possible that is required to be done as far as providing succor and support to people of second stranded outside the state is concerned. As far as screening is concerned, you know that rigorous on the entry points, two entry points, Rampur and Malli. And at one point of time when everything was open, 2,000 vehicles per day on an average were being screened. Now with these restrictions, number has come down. It's between 300 to 400. Like day before yesterday, 322 vehicles were screened. And for your information, and this is very, very important, this screening of vehicles started from 29th of January. Much before what other states started doing. So we started doing it from 29th of January. And so far, more than 1,800,400 vehicles have been screened. Yesterday we screened 358 passengers, 322 vehicles, 358 passengers. And so far, the number is astounding. So far, 605,000 passengers have been screened since January. So you can imagine the effort that our police personnel and health personnel are putting in. As far as sampling is concerned, we have sent 78 samples for testing and all 78 have turned out to be negative. We are also trying to create a testing lab here. Civil construction work is going on. Instruments are on their way, and in the meeting that I had with the task force before coming here, the indication is that it will take about a month's time before we can have our own laboratory. But then we are sending our technicians for training. So in a day or two, just now I approved the tour program. I will be sending out our technicians in 3 weeks' time. Hopefully the civil construction work will be over. Machines have been ordered. But then what is important is that it is on our request, Honorable Chief Minister wrote to Union Health Minister after our request to Government of India agreed to have this lab in North Bengal Medical College, and that is serving us very well so far. And when we have our own lab, then things will become even easier for us. As far as medical supplies are concerned, it's true that initially we had stock, but then we were apprehensive, God forbid, if we need to augment the stock, then how would we do it? And you know that we made special arrangements because getting PPEs, N95 masks, triple layered masks, gloves, and then VTMs. Every state was, scrambling for these things, and we also were having difficulties in getting these things. But we did it in a manner which gave us good results. Whatever small little quantities that we could procure from anywhere in the country, so we kept collecting those things in Delhi, Resident Commissioner's office, and when we had a sufficient sized consignment, we brought it here with special arrangements with the Indian Air Force. So with that, our medical supply position is quite comfortable. We have sufficient number of PPEs and masks, and through you, I want to assure all our medical personnel that we are quite okay as far as medical supplies are concerned. We have created adequate quarantine facilities, and there is no worry on that score. As far as essential commodities are concerned, I don't think you would have encountered any problem. Diesel, petrol, LPG, these are the things which we keep monitoring on regular basis, and we know that stock position is quite good. Rice stock position, we have stocks which will last us for more than 2 months, so there is no worry on that score also. People are making generous contributions to Chief Minister's Relief Fund, and those funds are being utilized through Health Department, municipalities, through Sikkim Police, and many other agencies for taking care of corona relief related activities. State disaster relief funds are also being used for this purpose. You might also have taken note of some welfare measures that state government had taken a decision on, like providing 300 rupees per day extra wages to all the industrial workers, and also providing one-time financial assistance of rupees 2,000 per head to all registered building and construction workers. Now, this assistance has been given to 2,193 workers. So this is a large number. As far as distribution of food packets, food relief is concerned, as per the decision and announcement made by the state government, first phase of distribution is already over. I have got the confirmation from all the districts, north, west, east and south included, that as per the list which they had prepared, everybody has been provided with rice, dal, cooking oil, potato and onions. And the total number of families thus benefited is more than a lakh. 1,630,000 to be precise. So these many people have been given assistance in the form of food packet containing rice, dal, cooking oil, potatoes and onions. In between, we had some issues with regard to maintaining the supply chain, but these issues are always anticipated, especially when goods have to be brought from outside, and control over the events outside the state is not really in our hand. But we have still been able to work overnight, and finally we have been able to complete distribution of these commodities in first round. Everybody has been covered, nobody has been left out from the original list. Now we have another list of persons who seem to have been left out. The decision of the government is that everybody who deserves should be covered. So another list has been prepared by district collectors, and additional sanctions have been given by the state government. Today Food Department has confirmed to me that by today evening, additional quantities of rice, dal, cooking oil, potato and onions required for these additional families will reach the districts by today evening. That is the commitment that they have made, and I have told the district collectors to ensure that beneficiaries from the additional list, they also get these supplies over next 2-3 days, because we really want this job to be completed before many other activities which will start from 20th. So this is as far as relief by state government is concerned. I think I have covered almost everything, but still if you would want some more information, I will be glad to.
So I have one question. You said that the construction would be resumed from 20th. So will the construction material will be allowed to be brought from outside state in this case?
So because officially we have not taken a decision on that, in the spirit of Government of India directives, movement of all goods freely is allowed, right? Construction activities will commence here with the labor locally available. So movement of labor is not allowed. Now it should be possible for the contractors to start working with existing available material locally available, but I see no problem as far as movement is concerned. All that we are working on is how to regulate the movement of trucks and truckers across the border. So in principle, no problem. It's just that in a day or two, I've asked Secretary Transport to work on. Some suggestions have been made. It's premature for me to talk about that, but essentially what we would want to do is, because safety, public safety is the most important thing. So those truckers who are involved with this cross-border movement of goods, they should mingle with the people here, populace here. I'm just wondering whether we should have transit accommodation for them where they could come and stay. One suggestion was that the truckers coming from West Bengal side, anyway they return on the same day after dropping the goods here. So the instructions would be this, that we encourage that, because if somebody is coming and just going back, then to that extent there's no problem. But if they stay, then they should go to the designated transit camp. Now those transit camps will be created in all the 4 districts, but they are working on it. Maybe in a day or two they will come out with the protocol, because we still have 2-3 days time. But we had extensive discussion on these issues, because whatever we do, overriding consideration has to be public safety. So we are just thinking of the options and possibilities, how best we can do these things, so that while the movement also takes place, there is no threat to public safety.
So I just want to know, Sikkim is the only state which has not a positive case. So how does it able to ensure the safety of its people? Whole nation is curious at the moment, and on top of it, despite proximity to West Bengal, and we can see all this.
So you want to know why? So this is what I have been telling for last 1 hour. is cooperation. Because here I must say that the public awareness level in Sikkim is really good. People know, people understand the implications. Government has been willing, it's very, very important, willing to take difficult decisions in time. And that has saved us.
So just wanted to have information on the standard number of the Sikkimese people outside.
The official
as
data.
on whatever available, sir. Number of persons, including students. Sir.
So I don't want to tell you anything offhand because like we know that number of students who have been given assistance, we know that figure is official. So that is there. And then these 4 officers in Kolkata, Siliguri, Guwahati and resident and in Delhi, they are getting information from people, they are working out the details, what exactly is the number. Maybe we'll know in a day or two. But students we know because they approached us and they have been given financial
Sir,
assistance.
since all the activities, most of the working activities has been lifted from this lockdown, so is there any plan to lift 144?
See, you must have, let us not forget the perspective. As I said, we are still in a lockdown situation, right? But at the same time, someday, somewhere, economic activities have to be restarted. Restarted in a manner which is kind of a punctuated response to the situation, a cautious approach, and we do things in a manner which doesn't really cause any concern as far as public safety is concerned. Now, these prohibitory orders, these restrictions on not allowing more than 5 people to be present in one place, these are public safety measures. These are not really, strictly speaking, prohibitory orders. Issued under prohibitory sections are basically to ensure that people maintain social distance. So these restrictions will continue. As a matter of fact, as I said, these national directives do prescribe that in whatever we do, wherever we are, in government offices or industrial enterprises or in bank or in insurance company office, social distancing is going to be the norm. Wearing of masks, maintaining social distancing, personal hygiene and sanitation, washing of hands frequently. This has to continue if we have to protect ourselves.
So there's been some reported cases, like few cases wherein Sikkimese working outside has been asked by the house owners to leave or vacate the rented house. So in this case, whom can be contacted?
So there have been complaints, but I think those complaints were at the beginning. We haven't received any fresh complaints. Because when all of a sudden this situation developed, then there was a lot of confusion everywhere. Wherever we have got these complaints, we have gotten in touch with authorities in respect. For example, if somebody has a problem here, then it's our duty to resolve that problem. In the same way, everywhere, state governments, officials, senior officials, they have been forthcoming with resolving the issues. Initially, yes, there were problems. Right now, problems are not of this nature. Problems are of different type. People remaining confined to small little accommodation, not being able to go out. Maybe they are running out of supplies. Of course, supplies are available everywhere. But it's a very, very unusual situation. Even we all are feeling a little claustrophobic, isn't it? So that is understandable. But we have always acted on specific complaints and been able to resolve.
सर जो माइग्रेटेड लेबर सर जो आपने कहा कि 20 से काम में जाएंगे सर, तो वो एरिया वाइज रहते हैं सर, कहाँ कहाँ रहते हैं, तो जब काम में जाएंगे तो उनको सर कोई आई कार्ड इशू करना होगा, नहीं तो उन लोग को पुलिस द्वारा या किसी द्वारा डिस्टर्ब भी हो सकते हैं सर वो।
एक चीज़ तो हम ये समझ लें कि जो यहाँ सिक्किम में पिछले लास्ट 21 दिनों में रहे हैं, दे आर सेफ, चाहे वो माइग्रेंट हों, चाहे, क्योंकि अगर इन्फेक्शन का मैनिफेस्टेशन होना था तो अब तक तो हो चुका होता। Our key safeguard is that we maintain this status by not allowing infection to come in and then spread. अब जो लोग हैं यहाँ उनको जैसे कहीं घर पे रहते हैं और फिर साइट पे जाना है तो उनको पुलिस रोकेगी, ये आपका सवाल है। दैट इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाट वी डिस्कस जस्ट नाउ इन द मीटिंग। अब होता ये है कि मीटिंग होती है, उसमें डीजीपी साहब हैं, डीआईजी साहब हैं, सीनियर ऑफिसर्स, एसपी साहब भी थे। उसके बाद में मैसेज धीरे धीरे नीचे जाना चाहिए, जाता भी है। कई बार कंफ्यूजन होता है, तो एक दो दिन ऐसी डिफिकल्टी होती है, बट दीजिए बिकॉज द लाइन ऑफ थॉट इज वेरी वेरी क्लियर, वी शुड फैसिलिटेट। अगर कोई इशू जिस तरह के आएंगे भी, स्पोरेडिक केसेस हियर एंड देयर, रिजॉल्व दोज इश्यूज, शुड बी अ प्रॉब्लम।
So e-learning has been encouraged in schools and
Yes.
teachers have been furthering it. But when it comes to children, kids who are from 1 to class 5, who are not adapted to technology, sir, how will be they learn?
If I were a class 5 student, I will love this situation. Not having to go to
but
school.
again, like lot of gap.
So parents are the best teachers, isn't it? हमें क्लास 1 से क्लास 5 के बच्चों की इतनी क्यों चिंता करनी चाहिए?
So जो टेक्नोलॉजी से अडेप्टेड नहीं है, पेरेंट्स भी टेक्नोलॉजी से अडेप्टेड नहीं है, वो should.
But why do you think that this situation will continue forever?
Thank you so much.
See, in the given situation, there are some optimal solutions. Now, e-learning is the way forward. In times to come, this will become the norm as a matter of fact, isn't it? So, we should look at it in this manner. 5 साल के बच्चों को तो खेलने दीजिए ना, क्या? How does it matter? Thank you, sir. So, right, thank you so much.